Hey there, A's Day fans. Welcome to our Monday edition of our show. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado. I want to thank each and every one of you for kicking off your week with us here at A's Day, hearing our thoughts on your athletics. Today is Monday, April 20th. We've got a good show for you. First, they were unfortunately wiped away this weekend by the Chicago White Sox at home at the friendly confines of Sutter Health. As we recap how the A's came up short against the White Sox, dropping 2 of 3 to end their homestand. And now, for the back half of our show, we are going to preview their next series, which is set to kick off tonight in the Pacific Northwest, as the A's will kick off their AL West road trip with 3 against the Seattle Mariners. No easy task at all, playing at T-Mobile Park. We'll be sure to break down the starting pitching matchups, the game times, give our predictions, all of that good stuff. Always happy, always a good day when we're able to talk A's baseball here at A's Day. Holy Toledo, let's go A's. All right there, A's Day fans. Thank you once again for tuning in to our Monday show, or whenever you're listening to this edition of A's Day. We appreciate you hearing our thoughts. Before we jump in, just want to give you all a friendly reminder of where you can find us outside of our weekly podcast episodes that we typically will post twice per week, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, whether that's Apple Podcasts, Spotify Music, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, so many more. Wherever you can listen to an audio podcast, you'll be sure to listen to A's Day as well. Be sure to support us on our social media channels as well. On our Instagram page at A's Day Baseball Podcast, on X, formerly known as Twitter, at A's Day Baseball. And be sure to check us out on our YouTube channel, A's Day, to check out our video editions of these podcast episodes, as well as our A's player interviews and other A's baseball destination content that we have and will continue to post on our channel. And to become an official subscriber of A's Day, check us out on our Patreon site, patreon.com/A's Day. For just $2 a month, you'll be entered to win monthly A's Day t-shirts, A's autograph memorabilia, future A's game tickets, and so much more as we are able to grow this platform collaboratively. Without further ado, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time here, especially by the time that you are hearing this episode. We won't be too far away from first pitch against the Seattle Mariners, so don't want to spend too much time dwelling on the past, but nevertheless, it is a good spot for us all to get caught up to speed. So let's jump right into the White Sox series recap, as we will take it back to Friday night in West Sacramento, as Davis Martin would be towing the rubber for the Chicago White Sox, going up against Aaron Civale. A's coming off a series split against the Texas Rangers, looking to end the homestand on a positive note. Happy Nick Kurtz bobblehead day to all who were in attendance to be able to celebrate. Aaron Civale had been money through his first 3 times through the rotation. On Friday, however, it just wasn't quite his night. The White Sox would get on the board first via an RBI double by Colson Montgomery to give Chicago the 1-0 lead. Their lineup would continue churning against Civale, making him grind through at-bats in the third inning, as the White Sox would get 2 more via an RBI single once again by Colson Montgomery and an RBI fielder's choice by Edgar Caro to increase their lead to 3-0. In the fourth, A's finally break through against Davis Martin, who was cruising early, to get on the board via an RBI single by Nick Kurtz to cut the deficit to 3-1. In the fifth, White Sox would respond back. Luis Angel Acuna would deliver an RBI double to increase their lead and lead to manager Mark Kotsay going to his bullpen. On would be Elvis Alvarado, who would allow an RBI double to Andrew Benintendi to increase the Sox lead to 5-1, and ending Civale's night officially with the 5 earned runs. In the seventh, the game still hanging in the balance, Muntaka Murakami would take all of the air out of the building with a monstrous Grand slam to dead center field, clearing the tall batter's eye at Sutter Health and growing the lead to 9-1. A's would get one in the eighth, but not nearly enough. Ball game over. White Sox take game one, 9-2. So tough night for Savali. Not as efficient as he had been through his first three turns in the rotation. Not going to be perfect. But it seems like the White Sox came out with more purpose in this one and seemed like they had something to prove, especially offensively. They were, without a doubt, the hungrier team. Davis Martin for the White Sox, perhaps their best starter consistency-wise, to kick off the 2026 campaign, keeps rolling along. He went 7 innings in this one, only allowing the 3 hits, 1 run, 2 walks, 4 Ks. And the White Sox were cashing in and setting themselves up with multiple opportunities with runners in scoring position. In fact, they had double the opportunities to hit with runners in scoring position than the A's did in this one. The White Sox were 5 for 16 as compared to the A's being 2 for 8 in these situations. The A's offense continues to look to search for their consistency in terms of footing in this new campaign as a collective. They have another tough night, only going 4 for 29, 4 walks, 5 Ks. They do continue to cut down on that strikeout rate, it does seem like, but still not enough productivity and passing the baton type of offensive synergy that we were treated to and accustomed to last season. Mutaka Murakami, you're going to hear this name a couple more times at least in these recaps. If you're not familiar, he was signed over from Japan from the Nippon Professional League to be the White Sox everyday third baseman, first baseman, whatever the case may be. At the minimum, to be a significant force in the middle of the order. I don't think even the White Sox, when they signed him, could have envisioned him making this much of an impact early on. That ball, that grand slam he hits in this one, clears that tall batter's eye. Saw it live. It was an absolute moonshot. And I feel the stadium got so silent after that, not just from dejection of being significantly further back on the scoreboard, but I think just taking in the majesty of what was just witnessed in terms of the towering nature of that grand slam by Murakami. So for the A's, it's not what you want, but you got to wipe it away clean and come back to fight the next day as Saturday. Happy Sevy Day to all who celebrate. Sevy taking the mound for the green and gold, going up against Eric Fetty for the White Sox. This one would get off to a rough start to the green and gold. After a scoreless first, the White Sox offense would get cooking in the second. Colson Montgomery launched a solo homer. Reese McGuire came through with an RBI single before Andrew Benintendi deposited a 3-run homer to cap a 5-run inning and grab the early 5-0 lead for Chicago. In the bottom half of that second, Jacob Wilson would drill a solo home run, his second of the year, to cut into the deficit. It's now 5-1 after 2. In the third, the A's would get within 5-2 thanks to a sac fly by Jeff McNeil as they look to keep chipping away at the early deficit. A's continuing the rally in this one as Tyler Soderstrom would come through with an RBI single off former A's pitcher Shore Newcomb in the fifth, as it's now 5-3 Chicago. To his credit, while the second inning was a nightmare, Severino did do a good job settling down and working into the sixth inning, not allowing any more damage to the White Sox to keep his team in the ballgame. Sevy, he went 5 1/3 in this one, allowed 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 walks, 3 Ks. His struggles at Sutter Health Park continue. In the bottom of the sixth, Lawrence Butler would ground into a fielder's choice, bringing home Max Muncy to bring the score within 1. It's now 5-4. In the seventh, Muntaka Murakami's power, told you would hear that name again. His power display would continue as he would deliver a solo home run off the lefty Hogan Harris to increase their lead to 6-4. To the bottom half we go. With 1 on and nobody out, A's Day home run prediction has now reached 2 correct picks in a row. That's right, the Big Amish, Nick Kurtz, would hammer a 2-run home run, a blistering shot to right field, his second of the year, as the game is now all tied up at 6. Battle of the bullpens, trading some zeros through 9, which means we are treated to some free baseball in West Sacramento. More zeros in the 10th, which means we head to the 11th. Jack Perkins had a fine showing, keeping the White Sox off the board over 2 1/3 of innings of scoreless work to set up the dramatics. After Denzel Clark got down a sac bunt to move the winning run to third. Max Muncy would come through, lacing a line drive to left deep enough to bring home the winning run via Jacob Wilson, sliding in headfirst at the plate, safe via the sac fly. Ball game over. A's rally back from 5 down, winning this one in walk-off fashion, 7-6 in 11 innings, and setting up Sunday for the rubber match to decide the series victor. So, Sevy's home struggles continue, and with him, it just seems to all happen at once and so quickly. And it's definitely a discouraging sign. While, we hinted at the positives of how he really settled down outside of that second inning, but that still sets a negative connotation for your team. And credit for the A's rallying in this one. This was truly a team collective victory, having to come back from down 5. And I understand that the deficit was received early in this one, but nevertheless, that's still 5-0, and that's not a lead that is easy to come back from. It takes everybody, all hands on deck, to have professional at-bats, work your way on base, and continue to chip away at that deficit, realizing that you're not going to get it all back in one swing. And I think the A's did a much better of playing team collective offense in this one. They went 10 for 39. They worked 10 walks against only 6 strikeouts. That is winning offense at its finest. When you're able, I'm not necessarily saying they have to do this every night, but it seems like the growing theme from this offense is them racking up these strikeout numbers at a significantly higher rate than their walk rate. Now, it does seem like those numbers have been flipping as of late, which is why we have been seeing and treated to more A's victories, but it's still a little bit more inconsistent. And nevertheless, it's good to see that they were able to have a good offensive game plan despite going down 5 runs in the second. They didn't panic. And I do think having that immediate answer with Jacob Wilson was important. While it was only 1 run, I think for the team that went up 5, your goal as that pitcher is to do everything you can to put up a 0, to maintain that momentum and build on it the following inning. But also don't give the opposition any sort of feeling that they have an opportunity to get back in this one. And I feel once Jacob Wilson put that good swing on the ball and they kept chipping away early, that there was never any faith lost in that dugout. Not that victory was never in doubt. It definitely wasn't a pretty victory. A win is a win. And nevertheless, it set them up for an opportunity to win the series. Jack Perkins, I think, was massive in this one. He goes 2 1/3 innings, only allowing a hit, a walk, and 3 strikeouts, no runs on the board. Did a good job of buying the A's offense extra opportunities until they were able to finally cash in and come through with runners in scoring position via the sac fly by Max Muncy, who probably wanted a little bit more on that one, to be completely honest. You won't see it because that's not how it's marked in the book, but he did rip an absolute seed to left field. That could have been good enough for a single or a double. So looking forward to seeing how it all would shake out from there, as even through the ugly victory, the A's would have an opportunity to win the series on Sunday. Sunday, we were treated to the battle of the lefties. Noah Schultz, the Chicago White Sox number 2 prospect, would be towing the slab for Chicago, going up against Jeffrey Springs. Springs, who was coming into this start with his 1.46 ERA, which was the 5th best ERA in all of baseball. However, it would be put to the test, and it didn't hold up as well as it had prior. The White Sox would jump out first in this one once again. Edgar Caro would bring home the game's first run via a sac fly in the second. Hill would also hit a homer, and Vargas would add a 2-run homer to increase the Chicago lead to 4-0 after an inning and a half, In the bottom half of the second, Dow Hernandez would smash a solo home run, his first of the year, to get the A's on the board. It's now 4-1. Would remain that score into the 5th when the White Sox would put this game away. Springs still in there. Murakami, yep, you hear that name again. He would homer for a 3rd straight game, this time a 2-run homer before Colson Montgomery, a name you have heard rather frequently throughout this recap as well, would cap the 3-run inning a couple batters later with a solo home run of his own, increasing the White Sox lead to 7-1. Springs would finish the 5th ending his worst start of the season to date. Springs lasted 5 innings, allowed 9 hits, 7 runs, 1 walk, 7 Ks, did allow 4 home runs. It was just not his day. A's would get 3 in the 7th, but that's as close as they would get. Ball game over. White Sox win 7-4. They take 2 out of 3 to win the series. A's drop to 11-11 in the process, and now set themselves up for a road trip, kicking up in the Pacific Northwest against the Seattle Mariners. So, wasn't Jeffrey Springs' best day, obviously, but you can't always ask him to go out there and be perfect because he nearly was through his first 3 turns in the rotation. So, the reflection that's about to happen, this isn't directed at Springs. He's been very good and totally understand that the way the White Sox were swinging from Friday all the way through this weekend, you have to tip your cap to them. The White Sox came to West Sacramento motivated and focused with the objective to win this series. And in fact, this White Sox team, as they are in the midst of their own rebuild, are still learning how to win ball games. But if they were a little bit more advanced, perhaps a little bit more experienced, they were set up with an opportunity to sweep this series. So kudos to them. Kudos to Will Venable keeping the troops motivated. And I think he has this White Sox offense finally humming. Is it the nature of the product of Sutter Health Park? Was it the lack of pitch execution by the A's pitching staff? Whatever the case was, the White Sox came in as MLB's one of the, if not the worst offense in baseball, and did not look like it at all this weekend. They scored 9 runs, they scored 6 runs, and then they scored another 7 runs. So they seem just fine to me. And whether that's them shaking off the early season slumber, getting more experience with more professional at-bats, or the A's just flat out didn't want it this weekend. Tough day for the offense. 5 for 33, 3 walks, 11 Ks. That's what I'm talking about. The K to walk ratio needs to show some more consistency. Some days they're patient, drawing their walks and putting the ball in play, not striking out at a high clip. Others days they're swinging at everything and striking out at an alarming rate. The A's are still trying to find their way and understand it is still not even May. And it just speaks to the up and down nature of how the A's have kicked off 2026. Started off real rough, got significantly better. Now it's looking a little bit rough after this weekend. Now to lead right into a tough road trip once again. Important games too, because you don't play as many division games as you used to. So I feel like they count a little bit more, a little extra, especially down the stretch. If you want to put yourself in the position to be in that AL West discussion, to be in that AL wildcard discussion, these are the games coming up that you're going to have to win. But let's take a step back. These are the games this past weekend that good teams win. It is. It's just flat out. The way this A's team approached this weekend, they came in as if they've had... This is the first time I felt this way about this iteration of the A's since really getting aboard the A's day train, to be completely honest. And maybe I missed a couple instances prior. But I saw a team coming off that 5-1 New York road trip, splitting with the Texas Rangers, perhaps feeling themselves a little bit too much. And it's not anyone individually. It felt like that attitude collectively. And A's fans, let me know. Let's sound off. Continue on the social media comments if that's just the me thing. But I kind of felt that sense from Friday on. And I know they had that fight and that good team collective win on Saturday, but it took them everything to come back in this one and in that one against the team they are better than. And I know the results did not show that this weekend. The A's played down to their competition. And I'm not taking anything away from the White Sox. The facts are the facts. With where these two franchises are at right now, the expectations are higher in West Sacramento than they are on the south side of Chicago. Just is. The A's have been where the White Sox are not that long ago. But we're not going back to those days. We're supposed to keep moving forward. And when you're seeing the heightened expectations after you win, 2 out of 3 in Yankee Stadium. You sweep the Nets. You split with the Texas Rangers. Take 2 out of 3 from Houston. With those increased expectations, these are the teams you're supposed to beat. You're supposed to win this series. And I apologize. I know we got it significantly wrong. We said that they were going to sweep the White Sox. I know it is hard to sweep anyone because all 30 teams have talented players up and down their roster. I get that. I'm not upset because they didn't sweep. I'm upset because they lost this series. With the way it shaked out, too, as well. Sometimes you have a dud of a game. I totally understand. You lose Friday, but the way you come back Saturday with that walk-off, and then if they would have come out yesterday in a more dominant fashion and controlled that game from pole to pole, I could live with winning 2 out of 3, despite my personal expectation of them being able to go out there and win all 3. But like I said, I understand. Baseball's hard. It's hard to win a game. Every single win is precious. So if they went out there and won 2 out of 3 in that fashion, would be a lot better spirits on this episode today. And like I said, I'm not significantly discouraged. I know clunkers like this are going to happen along the way, but I think that just comes with the territory of having those increased expectations and also trying to keep in perspective that, hey, there are only 22 games and there's 140 to go. But this was the first juncture where I kind of felt this A's team had that expectation where they would just throw their gloves on the field and out-talent this team. But for all the things on how I've loved watching this A's team all along the way, this iteration, this young core group, how they seem to fight and scratch and claw for everything until the 27th out, saw that significantly more in the first base dugout all weekend. And no, the A's did not switch dugouts at Sutter Health Park. I'm talking about the Chicago White Sox came in hungrier, and it showed. And in fact, like I said, if they had a few more resources at the back end of their bullpen, they were in prime position to sweep this series. Dominated Sunday, dominated Friday. And yeah, the White Sox went up 5-0 in that Saturday game. So, A's, hope you use it as a learning tool. We're not doing any 3 stars today. There are some good performances in this series, but not, I think, as a collective, it was a big clunker. Not going to reward a group for an effort that they can look inward and know that they should be playing a lot better against that type of opponent. In your home ballpark, I can understand if you go to Chicago and lose 2 out of 3, fine. Even still, you are the better team. Not this weekend, they weren't. But I hope that this is a good early learning tool. A's, times are much more exciting than they were 2 to 3 years ago. You're winning more games at an earlier clip than you did 2 to 3 years ago. You're playing better against higher quality opponents. But I'll tell you what, you're still not where you need to be. It's still been since 2020, this team has been in the postseason. This team hadn't had sole possession of first place in nearly 5 years. So don't get too big for your britches. As good as a lot of good things have started to happen and the tide has started to turn, especially seeing where you're at in the AL West. But a lot can change in 140 games to go. But I hope that this, like I said, use this to avoid this mistake in the future. Look, I understand. There's going to be days you just get flat out beat. Physically, can live with. Effort, I can't. Especially when you're in a position where you have the home field and you have the better team. Go out there and do your job as a collective. I hope I don't have to talk like this about this group again. I never thought I was going to have to. But again, maybe it's something that I just picked up on, and maybe I'm just disappointed with the result. But that just kind of had the feeling I had since Friday, that this team was going to go out there, throw their gloves on the field, and at worst take 2 out of 3. Well, guess what? You came well up short. And now you got a really important week coming up, a tough road trip, starting up in Seattle and then going down to Texas once again. We saw how tight that Texas series was in West Sacramento. And Seattle, we know they had their early season struggles, but they're slowly turning it around, and it's always a tough place to play in T-Mobile Park. So go ahead and prove it. Prove that this iteration of the A's is truly different and deserves the higher expectations than what has been here the last couple of years. 6 games to perhaps start defining who you are this year. Or do you go up and go 2-4 on this road trip because that's just what the modern day A's are? A work in progress, some heartbreak in there. Just came up short. Just lost by a run or 2 or 3. Use this as fuel and as motivation to flip the script that this is not the same old A's, that those days of coming up short are nearing an end, that we see that light at the end of the tunnel, because this weekend was really disheartening. And I know I said we weren't going to spend that much time on it, but I can't help it because it was a significant letdown. And I know, again, 22 games in, but if the A's are going to be in that threshold of teams that are knocking or in the postseason dance, teams like the Chicago White Sox are teams that you need to beat. It almost balances out those games in New York with the Yankees and the Mets, where perhaps maybe they were considered an underdog. Well, now you lose a series like this, kind of takes away a little bit of that momentum from there. But an opportunity to go to a place where it's been a little bit of a struggle as of late, and we will preview that for the back half of our show. But before we do, this episode is brought to you by Visit Mesa. Welcome to Mesa, Arizona, a destination for every season. Experience a destination where adventure, culture, and culinary experiences are limitless. As the gateway to the stunning Sonoran Desert and Tonto National Forest, Mesa invites you to explore its scenic waterways, kayak through winding canyons, or paddleboard along the Salt River. For a one-of-a-kind desert adventure, ride the waves at Revel Surf at Cannon Beach, the country's first surf park of its kind. Downtown Mesa is a vibrant hub, home to the Mesa Arts Center, public art, award-winning breweries, and local shops. Food lovers can explore the Fresh Foodie Trail and the diverse flavors of Mesa's Asian District. Sports fans can experience MLB spring training with the Chicago Cubs and athletics, or visit one of North America's largest youth sports complexes. As the world's first autism-certified city, Mesa is dedicated to accessibility and inclusivity for all visitors. All right, let's move on. Let's wipe it away clean. The Chicago White Sox are over and done with, and now we kick off a 6-game road trip within the AL West. We start the journey up in the Pacific Northwest for a 3-game set starting tonight against the Seattle Mariners, the defending American League West champs. They are led once again by manager Dan Wilson, and on the 2026 season are off to a 10-13 win-loss start. In their latest series, they did take 2 out of 3 from the Texas Rangers. They dropped Game 1 5-0 before storming back and taking Games 2 and 3 7-3 and 5-2 respectively to secure the 3-game series. Offensively, they've been hitting it at a .216 team batting average, which is the 3rd lowest mark in baseball. They've hit 21 home runs, which is tied for the 16th most. They've scored 90 runs, which is 21st. They've walked 100 times, which is the 5th most. And they've struck out 214 times, which is the 3rd most in baseball. On the mound, they're performing much better. They've pitched to a 3.22 ERA, which is the 2nd lowest mark in baseball. They've issued 54 walks, which is the least amount. They've struck out 196 batters, which is tied for the 10th most in the league. And they've pitched to a 1.16 whip, which is 4th. And defensively, they fielded it at a .989 fielding percentage, which is 8th, along with their 9 errors committed, is tied for the 8th mark in baseball. Here is how the Mariners project, at least for their A starting lineup. They'll be led off at third base with Brendan Donovan, batting second behind the dish, catching Cal Raleigh, Batting third in center field, Julio Rodriguez. Batting fourth at first base, Josh Naylor. Batting fifth, the left fielder, Randy Arozarena. Batting sixth in right field, Luke Raley. Batting seventh, the shortstop, J.P. Crawford. Batting eighth, the designated hitter, Dominic Canzone. He's also an outfielder. And batting ninth at second base, Cole Young. Let's take a look at when these games will be kicking off for first pitch, as well as the respective starting pitching matchups. So game one is tonight, Monday night, April 20th, 6:40 p.m. Pacific time, first pitch start time. JT Ginn will be getting the ball for the A's, going up against Emerson Hancock. Game two will be tomorrow, Tuesday, April 21st. Also a 6:40 p.m. Pacific time first pitch. Jacob Lopez will be getting the ball for the A's, going up against Luis Castillo. And then the game three rubber match will be a day game, Wednesday, April 22nd, a 1:10 p.m. Pacific time first pitch. Aaron Savali will be looking to bounce back, going up against Logan Gilbert. Let's get to know these Mariners starting pitchers that the A's offense will have to navigate. And we'll start with the Mariners game one starter, right-handed pitcher Emerson Hancock. On the year thus far, he has made 4 starts, pitching to a 2-1 record with a 2.28 ERA. In 23 and 2/3 innings pitched, he's allowed 4 walks, struck out 25 batters, and pitched to a .76 whip. In his last start, he got the no decision at San Diego, going up against the Padres. He pitched 6 innings, allowed 4 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts for the quality start. His fastball in the year thus far has averaged 94.6 miles per hour, and Hancock likes to work with a 5-pitch mix. A fastball, sweeper, sinker, cutter, and changeup. On the year thus far, his strikeout percentage of 29.4 ranks in the 82nd percentile of all qualified pitchers in baseball, according to Baseball Savant, to go along with his 4.7 walk percentage, which ranks in the 89th percentile. Seems like he's coming right after you. Hancock has transformed into a high-impact MLB starter for the Mariners by adopting a new lower arm slot that created a dominant high-spin sinker and improved command. He has shown elite early form in 2026, categorized by high strikeout games and a vastly improved mental approach. Hancock's sinker is his premier pitch, featuring significant movement and a low release angle that has stifled hitters. He combines this with a developed sweeper and a strong changeup. His fastball operates in the 93 to 95 mile an hour range with improved, flatter action that allows him to work at the top of the zone. His current success is attributed to adjustments in his arm angle, overcoming previous inconsistencies and any injury concerns. The Mariners' Game 2 starter will be right-handed pitcher Luis Castillo. On the 2026 campaign thus far, he has made 4 starts, pitching to an 0-1 record with a 5.40 ERA. In 18 1/3 innings pitched, he's walked 7 batters, struck out 17, and has pitched to a high 1.80 whip. In his last start at San Diego, they lost. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, allowed 7 hits, allowed 4 runs, only 1 of them earned, 3 walks, 3 Ks. His fastball velocity is slightly improved from the last couple of seasons, averaging 95.2 miles per hour. And he also works with a 5-pitch mix, a fastball, slider, sinker, changeup, and cutter. Early on this season, indicating a potential rebound in velocity due to an improved offseason program, with the 4-seam fastball averaging 95.1 miles an hour, comparable to 2025 averages, which are ranging more in the 94 range. Castillo relies primarily on a 4-seam fastball, slider, and sinker with a mix-in of changeup. The fastball slider makes up for approximately 3/4 of his pitches. He remains a reliable workhorse, aiming to continue a streak of 30-plus starts per season. He has proven durability, racking up over 1,500 career strikeouts, high-level consistency, excellent ground ball induction, and the ability to act as a stabilizing force. Though addressed in early 2026, his 2024 and 25 period showed slight declines in whiff rates and velocity, suggesting a need to rely more on pitch sequencing than rather raw power. And for their Game 3 starter in the rubber match will be their opening day starter, right-handed pitcher Logan Gilbert. He has made 5 starts in the year thus far, pitching to a 1-3 record with a 4.03 ERA. In 29 innings pitched, he's allowed 5 walks, 32 Ks, a 1.17 whip. In his last start, they lost to Texas. He pitched 5 1/3 innings, allowed 7 hits, 2 runs, 1 walk, 7 Ks. On the year thus far, his fastball has averaged 95.4 miles an hour, and he works with a 6-pitch mix: a fastball, slider, splitter, curveball, cutter, and changeup. He comes right after you with his stuff, again with a low walk percentage of 4.3, which ranks in the 91st percentile, and his 27.8 K percentage ranks in the 77th percentile. He has the best extension in the game at 7.6 feet. That ranks in the 100th percentile according to Baseball Savant. Gilbert was the Seattle Mariners opening day starter, functioning as an elite high workload ace with an evolving kitchen sink arsenal. He pairs a 94 to 98 mile an hour fastball with a high 6.2 foot release point, an elite 7.5 foot extension, utilizing a refined slider and splitter to generate high strikeout rates. Possesses above average control and elite command of the strike zone. Through 2025 and 26, he significantly improved his vertical approach angle, causing his fastball to look like it's dropping, leading to high swing and miss rates. He is known for a high-intensity, violent delivery with a massive leg kick. Let's take a look at how some of these A's hitters have fared against these Mariners starters in the past. Against Emerson Hancock, Tyler Soderstrom has gone 2 for 6 lifetime with a home run and a double. Against Luis Castillo, Jeff McNeil is 6 for 13 lifetime with 2 home runs. Zach Geloff is 2 for 6 with a home run. Oh, excuse me. That was against Gilbert. Against Castillo, McNeil 6 for 13 with 2 homers. And Butler 3 for 11 with a home run and a double. And then against Logan Gilbert, Zach Geloff 2 for 6 lifetime with a home run. Shea Langoliers is 2 for 20 lifetime, but both of those hits were home runs. And Jacob Wilson is 2 for 4 lifetime with a home run. Head-to-head on the 2025 campaign, the Mariners held the slight season edge, going 7-6 in 2025. Now let's get to our predictions. For A's Day, we are going to look to make it 3 in a row here for our A's Day A's player that we select to hit a home run in the series. We are going to select someone that hit a couple, I believe, at least a couple of home runs in Seattle last year. I do feel that he's going to continue this trend as his bat heats up more and more with more game at bats, as we at A's Day are going to select Tyler Soderstrom to hit at least one home run in this series against the Mariners. And then for our series prediction, we really wanted to be more on the positive side of things, especially catching Seattle when they are not at their peak performance, but still feel with how the Mariners are kicking it into motion the right way. We feel their pitching is improving more, or their pitching has been their foundation, but it seems like their offense is putting together better and better at-bats, and do feel they are coming off a series against Texas where they have gained significant confidence. They'll be protecting home turf at T-Mobile Park as well. So we are going to say that the Mariners are going to win the series, and we do believe that they will take 2 out of 3. We do believe that the Mariners will win tonight 6-2. Before the A's will win tomorrow 7-3. Before the Mariners take the rubber match on Wednesday with Gilbert on the mound, I do believe he will have the high elite strikeout stuff working, and do believe that the Mariners will go on to win that game 5-1 and win the series 2 out of 3. Hope I'm wrong about it, but what I saw in terms of attitude to the game this past weekend does not lead to necessarily good habits and good outcomes. Hopefully that was a learning tool for the A's to kick it back into gear and realize that they are focused, needs to remain evident on the goal at hand, and remain with their eyes on the prize and take care of business when the opportunities present themselves, and play the game of baseball the way it was intended. So best of luck to the green and gold. Hope it gets off to a good start tonight up in Seattle. Never an easy place to play, but nevertheless, even if they are on the short end of the series, these 3 games should be competitive in its own respective right. So enjoy the A's baseball this week, kicking off up in Seattle with a 3-game set. Once again, Game 1 tonight, 6:40 p.m. Pacific time, first pitch. JT Ginn will be getting the ball for the green and gold, going up against Emerson Hancock for the Seattle Mariners. Hope you're all able to enjoy the A's in action. With that brings us to a close of another edition of A's Day. On today's show, we recap the disappointing series as they dropped 2 out of 3 at home in West Sacramento against the Chicago White Sox, as now the A's hit the road, and we kicked it to the back half of our episode today to preview their next series against the Seattle Mariners, the 3-game set to kick off tonight, 6:40 p.m. Pacific time. We predicted that Tyler Soderstrom will hit a home run in the series, and unfortunately predicted that the Mariners, we feel, will take 2 out of 3 in this 3-game set. Hopefully we're wrong there, but hopefully Sodi hits a couple of home runs, because why not? We'll be back behind the mic for Friday's show as we recap what goes down in this 3-game set against the Mariners before we continue the road trip down south to the heart of Texas to kick off the weekend, taking on the Texas Rangers, this time down in Arlington. We'll be sure to provide a thorough preview. That's all I have for you today. Once again, I'm your host, Joe Grado. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this edition of A's Day. It is our joy to cover this team and give our thoughts on the Athletics, and hope we are continuing to see this team move forward and keep on adding wins to the win column. Take care, everyone. Enjoy the A's baseball. Have a good week, and we'll see you back behind the mic for our Friday show here at A's Day. Take care, everyone, and until next time, Holy Toledo, let's go A's.